Alright guys, welcome back to another Nioh 3 video, and today we're going to be talking a little bit about talismans. Now, talismans give you a ton of power, be it giving you the ability to lifesteal, to make enemies weaker, deal more damage overall, or just give you some form of utility to keep you alive or heal you. Whatever the case is, I'm going to be going over a handful of talisman, probably about 7, that you absolutely need to pick up early. It's going to make your game so much better, especially early on. So let's dive right on in. Alright, now before we can talk about any talismans, let's talk about a skill called Awakening, because this is going to be extremely important to using talisman. What Awakening does is it allows you to use your magic much faster, and if you've ever cast a talisman, you'll notice that they take a very long time to cast out, and this can get you hit, get you destroyed, and probably not something you really want to do, especially considering how powerful talismans are. You really want to use them. So I'm going to first show you guys how to get Awakening. Since this increases the speed, I think it's like 3 to 4 times the speed, and it is absolutely mandatory to have for pretty much any build. Since it's going to be a common skill, you can use this fairly freely, and you can get it super early, around like level 15-ish. So super important. So what you need to do is head over to the Eternal Rift, go to your map, press the 3 key on mouse and keyboard, wherever it is on controller, and then teleport here. In order to do this, obviously you need to have unlocked it from completing the very first boss, like the very first like major area boss, and then you should be able to get access to this area. Again, I got here to around like level 15-ish, give or take. Now in order to find this place, you're just going to make your way over to the area where you have the appearance change vendor in the north side. So you're just going to make your way up here, and you're going to talk to this NPC here, the master here, and they're just essentially going to assign you a quest that you need to do, which is going to be a very simple training quest. The quest we're looking for is the Way of Onmyo Novice, if I said that correctly. And all you need to do is go into this mission, defeat all the training enemies, which is going to be about 3 enemies, give or take. It's going to be super easy. Once you come out, after you complete it and clear it, you'll have access to this. Keep in mind that this blessing is only one that you can use within this section, so make sure you're not using any of the other ones, because this is kind of like a mastery skill. But nonetheless, this is going to be super valuable early, alongside all the talismans that we're going to be talking about in just a second. Alright, so first things first, for the first talisman we're going to be taking a look at is the Blood Edge Demon Soul Core. And what this Soul Core does is going to essentially lower your defense, but it's going to give you more attack power. Now this one is super good because it's going to stack with other attack power ones. If you've gotten the one from, I believe, the Yokai, which I'm not going to talk about maybe specifically in this video, since you probably already got it, because that one's like super easy to get. This one is going to be a super good one to increase more power. You're going to, of course, take a lot more damage, but the damage increase is pretty significant when you have this available. Now, to get this one is a little tricky, but a little simple to some degree. Essentially, all you need to do is whenever you see any red revenants on the map, you will, the swords coming out of the ground that are red. As you kill these, essentially there will be an arrow when you look at the map that points in a general direction that will come to these little demon core locations. Now, when you do that, you're going to see a Blood Edge Demon like pylon that has a ton of these surround it. Now, from what I can tell, as long as you kill like 2 or 3 of these, this thing should show up. Honestly, I think it's just 1, but as long as you kill a handful of these, this one should show up, and then you can activate it. All you need to do is just essentially follow the arrow and go there. I would highly recommend not to kill more than 5, especially early on, because it will increase their power pretty significantly. And essentially all you really want to do is get the ability to get this soul core. So that's what you're going to do. Once you defeat it, it should drop relatively easy. Again, this is a super easy one to farm, because you can just go to pretty much any location on the map, activate any revenant, and then eventually get this, because it's going to point you right in the direction. All right, next, let's talk about the Kappa Soul Core. And what this Soul Core does is whenever you use this is going to give you more magical item drops or rarer item drop whenever you actually use it. Now, this is mainly built around talisman video, but I did want to point out, when you have this allocated into your Yang slot, you will get passive bonuses like item drop rate as well as Spirit Force bonus, which will essentially build up whenever you get any form of Amrita. Again, this is a talisman video, but I do want to keep in mind that if you are questing around the world and you have this is going to give you a lot more like item drops. It's going to make it easier for you to do bosses, but nonetheless, sticking to the talisman portion of this, rare items is pretty self-explanatory. You activate this when you're going to farm something you want to drop. You activate this should help you significantly. Now, how do we find these? Well, unlike most things in the game, these are not very deterministic. You will literally just see them wandering around the world. I will show you a clip of where I found my first one at, and where I got my first soul core at. Maybe it'll spawn there, maybe it won't. It's a little hard to say. but I personally would highly recommend just going to keep your eyes peeled for these guys because they're fairly easy to get, and of course this is going to be a very useful bonus. All right, next let's look at the Gakai Chief Soul Core, if I said that correctly. And what this does give you is the Extraction Talisman. What it does is this makes it so whenever you invoke it, it's going to make it so you can steal Amrita from other enemies. So essentially just when you start punching things, you're going to just generally get Amrita. Now that in itself is already a very valuable tool, as it's going to just give you residual experience on top of what you're already going to get from like actually defeating the monster. But there is some tech that actually works really well that I want to show off. If we take a look at some of my gear, for example, if you have this one, for example, life recovery on Amrita absorption, this is going to give you 6 life still whenever you use it. And then I paired this specifically with this helmet that gives me another 3. And essentially what this means is the moment I start to hit any enemy, I'm going to get 9 life still every single time back. Now 9 doesn't seem like a lot, but if you have like, let's say, a fast attacking weapon or something that actually gets a lot of benefit from healing, like something that gives you the ability to run faster, take less damage when you're healing, those kind of things, this is a amazing combo because this essentially gives you another source of essential lifesteal on top of any other lifesteal that you have, and you can actually take a ton of damage early on and just give you the ability to recover a lot of HP. Now I will say there isn't a lot of location that is a guaranteed location where you can find these guys because they are scattered all across the map. I will give you one deterministic place I know for sure that you can find them, and coming over here to this little town here near the Miyazaki post, this little island area, this is kind of where you probably cleanse your first like dark area. There will be a guaranteed one of these guys here, so good luck if you come over here and try to find them. Again, they're all over the map. This is the only one that I can tell you that I know off the top of my head that is guaranteed. But come over here, dispatch this enemy, get a soul core, and you have essentially free lifesteal, which is pretty insane in my opinion. All right, next let's talk about another talisman, and we're gonna piggybacking off of the previous one, and this is the Nupu soul core. I know I butchered that name, but essentially this soul core is pretty stacked in what it does. When it comes to its talisman, which is this video is about, this makes it so you can actually gradually restore your life when you activate this, which is a no-brainer. This gives you 3 charges of it, and it's going to give you some heal over time. That's actually pretty nice on top of yourself. You don't really have to stand on top of it, you just activate it, heal over time. Very, very good. Now, while we're not talking about the talisman itself, I did want to point out that this actually has a special effect that whenever you use it in your Yang slot, but it's also going to give you life recovery when you do any form of Amrita absorption. You simply need to get any form of like Amrita gain, and this will give you life recovery. Kind of piggybacking off the last one, not necessarily a talisman, but if you're going to use this for rejuvenation, you actually get a pretty decent bonus otherwise when you use it in your Yang slot as some form of like healing sustain. So very, very valuable. Now, in order to find this one is very straightforward and easy. You simply need to continue to do the main story quests. I was able to get this around level 30. You're going to go back to the Hamamatsu castle. You're going to essentially talk to the guy there, forget his name, and he's going to tell you demons are terrorizing his location again. You go outside, you face off against this guy, you take him down, and you're going to get access to this extremely easy. All you need to do is follow the MSQ and you get this one super easy. Alright, next we have the Onmyo Soul Core, which is going to give you the Oasis Talisman. Now what this does is, well, it's pretty overpowered. It gives you a massive amount of AoE healing. Drop it down to the ground, you stand in it, and you and nearby allies standing in this AoE will get a pretty insane heal over time. You of course need to stand on top of it for the duration, but the heal is pretty insane. I think it can heal up to like 65 to 75% of your HP if you're standing on top of it. And it comes with 5 charges, which is refillable every single time you go to the shrine and like refresh. This means that this is going to be a great way to like build up your elixirs for a boss fight, because you can just use this to sustain your healing. And yeah, I just think it's one of the best things to get early. To get this one is probably pretty simple since you kind of know the name. You're gonna come over here to the Haunting Caverns and face off against the boss in this area who it goes by the same name. If you for some reason face off against her and you don't get her soul core, just simply come over to the Demons of the Haunting Caves battle scroll, and this will refresh her so you can come back in here and face off against her and like keep fighting her over and over again if you want to do that to get the soul core. I think it's guaranteed drop, but worst come to worst, just come here and you should be able to get it. Alright, next let's take a look at the Cutting Blast Talisman. And what this does is whenever you use any form of heavy attack while this is active, this is going to give you essentially a secondary blast that comes out of it, like a blast wave. It doesn't work with the hold attacks from what I can tell, but any of the tap heavy attacks, this will give you an additional blast, which actually can be a sizable amount of damage depending on what kind of weapon that you use. Now, the earliest way to get this is to face off against Mizuku's. This is going to be the huge demon guy located within the first area. You should be able to face off against him around level 12 fairly comfortably and beat him. If you're trying to find him, he's basically located in this like building area. He's not going to be marked on the map. Essentially come to this area located here, and this is where you can face off against him. Again, he's a little bit more challenging than most monsters early at this point, but not something you can't deal with once you hit like level 12 fairly easily. All right, next let's take a look at the Kiyokatsu Soul Core, which is going to give you the Weakness Talisman. What the Weakness Talisman does is pretty straightforward. It's going to make it so whenever you use it on an enemy, it's going to weaken the effectiveness of their armor. Now, I don't know the exact number reduction that they're going to get, but I believe they were getting about 15% more damage taken when you hit them with this Soul Core or this Talisman. And that's pretty damn amazing, especially considering you can stack this with any of your other damage buffers or things like that that give you more damage. This is going to make it so you do a significant amount of damage. Also, just keep in mind on this base stats, it actually can roll with melee damage as well as less damage taken when you're critical, which can actually be pretty valuable if you are a melee focused build like I play, especially like one of those frontliner builds. I know that's not the talisman portion of it, but I did want to point that out. Now, where you can find these guys are pretty simple. You ran into them during the normal crucible, like the very first crucible that you went into. But if you're like me, you didn't necessarily like farm them, make your way over to the hunting caves within the Rhinestone Pool. And within this area, you can make your way up the, like, I don't know, the ledges. You'll see one of these guys kind of just sitting there off in the distance, and you can just go in and just face off against him. I was able to get him pretty easy. I think it took me about 3 pulls, but I did use the Luckbringer Talisman, which helps. I think helps, not 100%, but I think helps. And while we're inside of the cave, let's actually go and get the Fire Talisman in addition to this. This is going to be farmed from the Inferno Onibai, and this one is actually going to be extremely nearby. If you are a regular watcher of the channel, what we do here on Fervor Gaming is very like fire based. I always like fire builds, or that's thematically how I tend to have my channel, and it just wouldn't be a great video without one. And this one is so close by, you may as well pick it up. When it's put in your yin slot, this is just going to give you a fire buff on your weapon. Pretty straightforward. And then if it's in your yang slot, you're going to get some fire based damage. Again, if you want a thematic fire build, this can be something of value to you. Nearby, next to the other guy, there will be a fire skull floating in the area. So while you're doing that one, you can actually just kill both of them and have a higher chance of getting both two really solid talismans. Last and finally, let's take a look at the Rejuvenation Talisman, and this comes from a Mujina. And what this talisman does is whenever you were to like die, you essentially don't, and you're going to be resurrected, I believe at about 25% HP, something like that, give or take. The big thing with this one, which makes it a little bit harder than the others, is there's not really a deterministic location, at least not one that I can like specifically remember, as they're tied to random chests where they can like spawn out. Maybe there's a video that go over their locations. Now, while I don't know exactly where they 100% can spawn, as they tend to spawn at random chests, the location that I can deterministically remember one was here at the Roton Temple Living Quarters. And just kind of to show you how to get it, because this one is like a deterministic spawn. I don't know if this will guarantee to drop one since I already got it. I'm going to just use the Luckbringer Talisman for the sake of this, just to show you. But essentially, you open this up, he'll come out. The way this guy works is, most people will attack him. Don't attack him. They're going to do it like an emote. So he just did like a backflip emote. You just kind of copy his emote. So do the backflip. He's going to just basically get happy, as you can see there. And unless he doesn't drop it naturally if you already got it. Yeah, okay, so he didn't drop it because I already got it from him. But if you didn't get it from him for the first time, I'm pretty sure this is a guaranteed deterministic drop. You can get it fairly easy that way. And there you have it. Those are 7 or so talismans that I think are super worth picking up early in Nioh 3. There's going to be a handful of other ones that are super valuable, but these are some that stand out fairly early, something you can easily get to, and they're going to offer you a variety of very powerful buffs and benefits to help you in your journey. Now, let me know down in the comments if there is a talisman that you think that I missed that is definitely worth getting early on. Keep in mind, I will be releasing like a mid to late game one in the near future. If there's an early one that you think is much better than the ones mentioned here, leave it down in the comments and maybe I'll put that in the next video. As always, guys, if you are enjoying the content, don't forget to leave me a like as well as subscribe. We have a lot of Nioh 3 content coming on the channel, as well as many other RPG games you're definitely interested in the near future. My name is Fervor, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one very soon.